Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this video. In this video, I will be talking all about moving on from a toxic relationship. I have been out of my toxic relationship for a little bit over a year now. Me and the man that I was dealing with were together for about a year. We moved in together and we went through a lot. We were young adults, and now in retrospect, I can just humbly say, it was a journey. It was a journey in the relationship. It was a journey getting out the relationship. And it's definitely been a healing journey moving forward and learning how to do relationships right and learning my responsibilities within the relationship. And so in today's video, I want to talk about healing after being in a toxic relationship over this past year. And I have gone through so many different cycles, so many different phases. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you all. So if you're interested in hearing about how I began my healing journey throughout this year after being in a toxic relationship, please continue watching this video. So first of all, healing is definitely a journey. There is no moment where you can just, pop up and be like, yep, I'm healed. It doesn't affect me. Like, things that you go through in life are fluid. So, there's things that affect you still from your childhood. There's things that affect you um, from your intermediate years and, of course, in your adulthood. I guess the key is when I know that I've processed something or that I've healed from something is when I'm able to bring perspective to the situation, when I'm able to look at myself and say, okay, well, these are the things that, I was enabling. These are the things that I put up with. And then when I'm also able to wish that person well and able to see just to have perspective on the situation, be able to wish that person well, see things that I could have done differently, and like a sense of indifference about it, a sense of where it's no longer like emotionally draining to think about or to move forward from. So I was living in, when I was in a relationship, this relationship that I'm discussing, I was in California, and we were at the end of the relationship, we were actually living together. And when I left, we were living together. So immediately after I left, I just remember having just such like a feeling of rage. So that was my first step, was just all this rage, and how I decided to get rid of that rage. And I'm not this is just my process. So disclaimer, I'm not necessarily saying that these are healthy ways or, the best way, but these are my steps and what I had to do to get to the place where I am today. And I felt like this was a healthy method, but this first step in rage may not be like the most productive thing to do. But I was very vengeful. So not in the sense that I went and slept with someone else or that I took it out like eye for an eye, but I do know that I made some phone calls to some loved ones of his and just gave them a piece of my mind. And oftentimes in relationships, we're holding our tongue. We want to be seen by their loved ones in the best light. Sometimes when these people don't treat us the best way we should be treated. So specifically with his mother, she just did not like me. She had a vendetta against me the whole relationship. So in the end of the relationship, after we broke up, I ended up calling her, just not in a disrespectful manner, but just explaining to her some of the situations that her son put me in, some of the things that he was doing to destroy himself. And, she ended up apologizing to me and just saying how she had never given me a fair chance, and how moving forward, whether we were going to be continuing or whether he was to continue with another woman, she would be more open to giving that woman a chance and just not blocking him being loved correctly because of her own ego and her own insecurities. And so also along with that, he also had like a lingering ex that would call him sometimes, call me sometimes, call his mutual friends that she had knew sometimes, and just insert herself in our relationship. So she called me after we broke up to like ask something about it, and I'm like, okay, it's time to give her a piece of my mind. So I basically went through a few people, not that, it was his mother, his ex-girlfriend, and then him, like just giving them a piece of my mind. I did not hold anything back. I expressed myself. I expressed how I felt about their dynamic within our relationship, and really was able to release all of that anger, all of that tension, all of that I should have said out of me. So there was no I should have said, I could have said. I let what I wanted to be said be known in the most respectful, productive way. I also allowed myself to cry, to listen to sad music, to vent to my friends, just get it all out there, just release all of that. Like, I am an advocate for soaking. I love some sad music and just a good cry session. I think that it is necessary. You deserve to release the energy, and the faster that you allow yourself that time, instead of being like, oh, it doesn't affect me, I'm just going to keep pushing, like, give yourself a moment to really mourn the relationship, because it is a loss, and you deserve to mourn things that you've put time into, put energy into, someone that you saw yourself with forever, maybe, for the future, marrying, whatever the dynamic is. You deserve a moment to mourn. So definitely give yourself the time to release that energy, release the pain, release the emotions. So after I went through the moment of vengeance, feeling angry, then obviously it was the period of just feeling very sad, and just feeling very like I had a loss, but in the sad period, it's very important to keep perspective. I wasn't, I was keeping like, I knew I wanted to be in my sadness. So I'm going to take this moment, whatever that moment is, that block, that period, 2 days, the week, and I'm going to be there. But then after that, I'm going to keep it pushing. I'm going to move into the next phase. I'm going to make a plan, do something different. So definitely giving yourself a moment to experience the sadness, and to mourn the relationship. And so when I was still in the period of mourning, it wasn't a complete cutoff. Like, the vengeance period wasn't a complete cutoff. The mourning period, it wasn't a complete cutoff. But when I got, after the initial just like crying mourning, I got to the point where we could no longer communicate, because I believe that it just keeps that wound open, just like not putting a band-aid on it. It's still open. So it's not being able to heal properly. So I had to close it off, put the band-aid on it, and really let myself let him go, So I let him go, and we did not talk. And during this period was when I transitioned from living in Los Angeles to Atlanta, Georgia. If you haven't checked out my vlog on moving to Atlanta, Georgia, please do, because that had a whole set of trials and tribulations within itself. I definitely had to just close the chapter. So just put the band-aid on it. Since that point to that point, we hadn't been completely cut off from communication. So we still were talking. We still were, just doing those last things of getting the last items, the last of, oh, we really can't make this work, no, just the last bit of drops, until it got to a stage where I really just wanted to, I knew what the decision was made, and I needed to move on for my healing. So I completely cut him off. And I feel like that's when I went into more of a stage of reflection. Of course, sadness was still there. Of course, anger was still there, but we were moving into a place of, okay, now let's see how we're going to move forward. That's when I began to move into a space of doing the things that brought me happiness before the relationship and even during the relationship. So I began to work out again. I was like working out militantly, like very strict on my workouts, 3 times a week. It's just something for me about about breathing, that workouts just make me feel so at peace and make me feel just so happy. Like, workout, the dopamine that I receive during my workouts, I feel like I'm high. So I just love to work out. And I began to take pictures more frequently, just get back in a pattern of a healthy relationship with social media, because sometimes when you're in relationships, social media and things like that are something that you have to sacrifice, or, you know, not taking the most sexy pictures. So I just got back into it. I did a few like beach photo shoots, and just working out, and just going out to eat, and just doing things again that I enjoy to do, that really brought me outward joy, that were activities that I could do that I knew would bring me joy. Because sometimes, even though I might have been working out and taking pictures and I was still sad about my relationship, I was doing things that I know would make me happy. So it was kind of keeping it a balance, because I knew I did not want to fall into a depression. Because me, I'm a very, very emotional person. I'm very in tune with my emotions. So, and I'm a Libra, so Libras are the scale. We like balance. So if I know that, okay, naturally I'm in a season of where I am kind of low and I am feeling depressed, I wanted to extremely put a lot of effort in doing things that I know are going to bring me joy, so that way it can kind of at least have me at an even playing field of neutral. So you know, to keep the totter balance, you know, if that makes any sense. Along with that, being around people that uplifted me, being around people that have the same creative interests that I have, pouring myself into creative spaces, writing, you know, all those elements of creating that luxury, that self healing, you know, those things that you can do to just give yourself a big hug, like, and actually hugging myself. I am so dramatic, you guys. I would literally sometimes sit and just hold myself and rock myself and just hug myself, because you have to love yourself first. And if, you know, you lost a loved one, because a relationship is a loss of a loved one, and sometimes that's why we stay in like that communication with them. It's so hard to just make that complete chop, because we want that love still. We want to know that we're still loved. But love you still love yourself, and try not to fall into a place where you're just blaming yourself. Okay, yes, the relationship is lost, but what have you learned? You know, what did you learn? What did you escape from? What did you surmount? And just to tie it back, one thing that I did immediately after I left, completely cut him off, was leaving the relationship, was I wrote a letter, you know, to myself, just grateful to myself for what I had done, the, you know, the horrible, I wrote out literally the horrible things that had happened in the relationship. And I took a doll baby. I had this doll baby literally my whole life, and she kind of symbolized for me adolescence, and she symbolized a lot of pain for me, because up until that point, this was like my third breakup, you know, all she had been with me through all my childhood trauma. So she really symbolized a lot of pain and adolescence, and not really standing in my queendom, you know, the way that I needed to be in it. So I took her and I took that letter and I took them both to the ocean, because the ocean is such a healing place. The ocean, water is healing. Water, you know, water is cleansing. So I took her and the letter to the ocean, and I threw them in the ocean. You know, it was real, it was giving real dramatic movie. I threw them both in the ocean. And but seriously, it was like a release for me. And I cried, and I sat there, and I you know, I just thought, and I was just in the moment. I tried to be in the moment so that it wouldn't last forever. I tried to be in each of those phases in that moment, so that the moments would not last forever, being mindful of how I felt and how I didn't want to feel. And again, just loving myself, hugging myself, you know. Yeah, so it was a really sad time, but it was also a really beautiful time, in the fact that, you know, ooh, about to cry, because during that time I really didn't have anybody. Like, I was, you know, I moved out to California by myself, you know, and I had my family, but I had my sister, but my sister had moved at that point. So I was literally by myself. I was literally alone. I'm gonna pause because you see I'm tearing up a little. I'm a person that believes that if you don't learn the lesson, you'll have to repeat the test. So everything in my life, because life is short, guys, I'm very intentional about. Maybe a little too serious. It might be a little too serious, a little melodramatic, but I definitely want to just be intentional about my happiness, intentional about my relationships, intentional about my potential and what I'm here on this earth for this period of time with these people, making these interactions, what it's all for and what I'm supposed to be getting out of it. So anyway, back to this core competency of how we healed from our toxic relationship, releasing the energy and releasing the energy again. I cannot stress to you guys enough about how much you're going to have to release. New things are going to come up like, that did that, release it again. So it was a lot of release. I spent a lot of time at the beach, just taking in the beach, especially because I knew I was going to be leaving California soon. So going to the beach, taking showers, you know, being with friends, just as much time in releasing the situation as consciously as you can, as mindful as you can, writing it down, ripping it up, burning it, talking to your girlfriends, then saying forget that man, you know, just as much period, as much intentional releasing as you can, as much time you need to take the time to release it, do that, and just continue saying to yourself that you are releasing this negative energy. You are taking the lessons that you needed to learn from that situation so that you do not have to repeat the lesson. And you know, you just want to again consciously be doing these things, mindfully be doing these things. We had a period where we were in this relationship. Now we're not in the relationship. Now we are single again. So how are we going to be single? How are we going to move in a single space? And now, even looking back, being here now, like, almost a year and a half from the situation, from where I thought I was healing, quote unquote, like 6 months after the relationship, I was still very much hurt. You know, I went through a phase where I was going out every weekend, if not every weekend for sure, and if not doing something every single day. I remember having a policy of like, I won't regret not going out later. You know, I won't regret not going out, because sometimes I won't regret not going out on my deathbed. I will never say I should have not gone out. So now I'm not in that space anymore. I'm definitely in a different season, but I needed that season. I needed to go out, meet new people, remember how to flirt, remember how to, that that I'm attractive, that, you know, that I'm desirable, that I have friends, I have other places to find love, you know. And I really went through that. And I, you know, and then shoot, and that could be a whole nother video on just like going out and just having all those different experiences to build new experiences, because the more new experiences you have, the more that experience kind of gets pushed a little further back. You know, it's still there because it's always going to be there. It's always going to be with me, because I was in there in that relationship mindfully at the time, but I just didn't want it to be like the forefront of my emotion. You know, it was during COVID, so it was a lot of different dynamics in life in general when it came to like career, life goals, long-term plan. You know, everything was kind of shuffled at that point for me, even outside of the relationship. So I definitely was probably also just going out as a distraction, as a means of escaping in a way. And that may not have been necessarily the healthiest part, but it has definitely been a part of my testimony now, and a part of why I am in the space that I am in now, because I have experienced. Within, you know, that period, I was also moving into a space of just kind of reflecting on myself in relationships and the things that I played a part in the toxicity, because it takes two. My mom would always say the saying, when you point your finger, there's three fingers pointing back at yourself. So you always have to come back. It always comes back to you. It always comes back to yourself. And I just realized, you know, that I was really in over my head. I was in over my head in that relationship. I really was. I wasn't ready for some of the steps that we were taking that I thought I was ready for. And because I wasn't ready, and because I really didn't necessarily want those steps, there was friction there. So I was just, you know, just analyzing those things, really understanding the importance of knowing what you want. You have to know what you want, know what you don't want, know your negotiables, know your non-negotiables, and be secure and set in those ways, and redeveloping self-love and understanding that what you want you can have, and you don't have to settle. So all those things were things that I was going through, and things that I was thinking about and experiencing. And that's when I began journaling, and kind of began dating other people, not seriously. I feel like I haven't really dated anybody seriously since then, but just definitely putting myself back out there, talking to people, getting other men in particular perspective on the relationship, and on relationships in general, because perspective is great. Perspective helps you heal. And sometimes when you move out of the space of, oh, this happened to me, and into a space of, wow, this is what we were experiencing, it just helps you heal. In that period, I actually did speak with my ex again. He apologized to me about, the things that went on in our relationship. He was already apologizing, but he was just apologizing from his place of reflection. And I also apologized from my place of reflection, and just able to kind of help each other heal, not getting back together, but just help each other gain perspective and heal. And so one little recommendation when you're like when I was building myself back up, and going out and enjoying people and building new relationships, I was also, like I said, meditating and praying a lot. And I just remember Janae Aiko trigger mantra, and I just loved that so much in that time, because she just talks about calm down and protecting your energy and just calming down, and that everything around you is conspiring for you. You are protected. You are protected. You are protected. You are protected. And it was just beautiful. Like, it was like a sad, beautiful situation. So yes, it was really, really good. And it's crazy because I don't even listen to that mantra anymore, because I feel protected. But I guess, in that space, I felt so vulnerable. I felt so alone. So it really helped me to, again, comfort myself, and to just level me, and just feel safe again. And so lastly, kind of like where I am, well, I'm gonna try to, because I want to close this. I want to close this video, but I want to say that, again, healing is continuous. So although I am in a place now where I feel like I have a lot of perspective, I am still healing through all of my experiences, and trying to make myself a better person. Because if you don't continue your constant healing, it affects you in other avenues of your life, and other relationships, and other things. So I just want to say that I am still meditating, I am still praying, I am still releasing, negative ideas and negative ideologies and hurt and pain from the opposite sex. We want to just know that, it's like it always takes two to tango. It always is two. A lot of, when you hear things like on social media that say like all men, it's never all anything, but it can be what you are attracting. So I think as soon as you get ready to say all of anything, that's when it's time to like reflect, because there is no all in anything. It's a yin and a yang. It's all gray. It's never black and white. So anytime, even till now, where I'm like, men ain't nothing, or, whatever, those little sayings, I try to not, I don't say those things, because it's not true. There are good men out there. I may not be in a relationship right now, and I might be dealing with men that I don't see myself with in the future, but there are good men out there. There are good women out there, and there is someone for you. So yes, that is where I am at now. This was kind of a difficult video to put together, because I just feel like it was so many different places, and I have my script, but it was just, it's a lot to be said on this topic. And I just, want to leave you guys with, healing is continuous. Healing is a beautiful thing. Pain, there is beauty in the pain. There is beauty in the pain. There's lessons in the pain. If everything was good, we wouldn't appreciate the if everything was bad, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the good. And if everything was good, we wouldn't even know it was good, because it would always be like that. So, yes, and those are just some ways in which I reflected on my healing, and on this past year of being out of that relationship. And I'm sure, I could come back 2 years, and in new relationships, changing the way I do things in new relationships. And maybe that'll be a nice video to do, like things that I plan on doing differently from being in that situation in my next situation. So thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe and could comment. Please share this video. Share. I'm really trying to build up this beautiful platform, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.